We hear the terms minimalist, minimalistic, and minimalism all across the media. When people hear these words, they often think of images like these. These terms can be used to describe different subjects: photography, people, and lifestyles. Minimalism is a tool that is used by people to improve their own life, a way to distance yourself from material items and possessions. Having less material possessions and distractions should allow you to focus on things that are more important in your life, whether that is friends, family, or work. I wanted to know what people around me knew about minimalism, so I asked them a couple questions to find out.
Yeah, it's like a lifestyle people choose where they don't have many materialistic things.
I think it's where it's a bit like a cross between a lifestyle and an art form where you try and live with as little as possible.
Minimalism is like, it can come in different forms. You can do it like minimalistic art, where it's like very little is on the canvas or screen or whatever, but you can also have a minimalistic lifestyle where you don't own many possessions.
I think I definitely own too many items, to be honest.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably. I'm a bit of a sort of sentimental hoarder, so definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, actually no. No, I don't.
Yeah, I could probably live with less.
I mean, whenever I tidy my room, I find like a Tamagotchi from 2010 under my bed, and then don't tidy my room because I'm just playing on it, so probably.
I mean, maybe, but there's still plenty of other distractions, so I don't think so, no.
I'm not too sure. I haven't really ever tried minimalism before.
I wanted to learn more about minimalism from a minimalist, so I spoke to Catherine Gordon. Catherine has a blog where she talks about minimalism and how she uses minimalism to add to her life.
So, I suppose the catalyst for me was reading James Wellman's book, Stuffication, which is a brilliant book, and that really set me on a really intentional path towards changes in my own life. And I suppose I developed an increasing awareness from about 2014 onwards, but it was really reading James Wellman's book that made me really start to make some significant changes, and that's when I started blogging. So I guess 2016 was the kind of catalyst for me. You'll hear this a lot. For me, it's about the intentional removal from your own life of anything that doesn't add value. So that's stuff, clutter. It could be things, it could be activities, dare I say it, even people. But it's about being more intentional with your life and how you live, particularly around clutter and the acquisition of things. But certainly it's about the intentional removal of anything that really doesn't add value. So it's this idea that less is more. For me, it's about letting go of commitments and other obligations which had become onerous. I live with a family, so I'm not one of these people that you might have heard of who perhaps lives with 50 items or less and backpacks around the world. You know, I'm still living in a family context, but our home has belongings that you would expect to find in any family home, but we're not big on acquiring stuff. So the house is easier to keep clean. It's a very calm, inviting space. My office is fairly similar, although I do have some paper in here. But for me, it was about creating space in my life to focus on things that I really wanted to do. I found that when I made the decision to kind of make some intentional changes, that things had become a bit overwhelming, really. I have a busy full-time job, I have a family, lots of commitments, and I actually decided in the summer of 2016 that I had to make some significant changes. Otherwise, overwhelm would just become too much. So that's what really happened. So it's allowed me to free up space in my life, live a little more simply, live intentionally, and really focus on the things that matter. No, absolutely. On the contrary, anyone can enjoy and appreciate the benefits of living with less, and that's the beauty of it. And in fact, I would say the exact opposite is true, that if you're really been intentional about how you spend your time and your money, then you will reap the benefits financially. I would say read some of the good literature that's out there. On my own blog, I've written a couple of very long articles which would really get somebody into minimalism, and one talking about the tools and techniques that can be adopted. There are lots of very good tools and techniques that you can espouse. So for example, you can play the MINS game, the minimalist game, where you declutter one item on day one, 2 items on day 2, 3 items on day 3, and so on. So by the end of the month, I think the number is something like 495 items. The other thing I would say is it's a bit like peeling the layers of an onion. So start with the low-hanging fruit, remove the things that are obvious and which don't require very much thought, and take your time. Adopt what works for you, ignore what doesn't work for you, read widely, listen to podcasts. The Minimalists have a podcast. There are other minimalism podcasts as well that you might like to listen to. And as I say, just take on board the things you enjoy and that work for you, and then don't worry about the rest.
I first found out about minimalism from many different outlets. Creators such as Matt Goff show how minimalism impacted their life and how minimalism can impact yours. This led me to ask myself what items I need to have a fulfilled and focused life. I've decided that for the next week I'm going to live as a minimalist, so I can find out what it is like to be a minimalist. I started with decluttering my room, focusing on items I would need and getting rid of anything I didn't, such as old books and clothes. When I was decluttering, I found many items that I haven't used in months, if not years, so I got rid of them. If they don't add anything into my life, then I don't need them. So this is kind of a rough idea of what my room looks like after the decluttering. A lot less items that I kind of own and have in all these cupboards. There's a lot less than there were before. After I'd finished decluttering, I started eliminating any unnecessary distractions. I think a major distraction in my life is my phone. I'm constantly checking it, whether it be social media or other apps. When I researched, I found that the simplest way to reduce your use of social media and other apps is to move the icons around on your screen. This forces you to think more when you're going into that app, because it's not in its normal position. This is my first day of living as a minimalist. I found it a lot easier to kind of get myself sorted in the morning because of my wardrobe. I wear the same thing most days now, so it made it a lot easier to kind of get up and get organised and get out the door. So this is the second day of living as a minimalist. Once again, a lot easier to kind of get out in the morning. I did find myself kind of getting into a regular pattern of knowing where everything is because there's not really much of the stuff to dig through. This is the third day, I think this is now, of living as a minimalist. Once again, a lot easier to kind of get up. I'm only really changing a few things about kind of my outfit and my day-to-day, which is like obviously hats and kind of stuff like that, depending on the weather. But there's also a lot of other benefits that I've had. For example, when I get home at night, there's not really as many distractions. I can kind of want to get on with work, that's fine. If I want to do something else, it's absolutely fine because there's nothing to kind of sift in and get in my way of what I want to do. I think this is the fourth day now. There's not a lot that has majorly changed. I find that the only thing that is changing is kind of when I need to find something, I know where it is because I'm living a lot more kind of consistent and making sure that I have the things I need day to day. So everything I threw out before I haven't really missed or ever used or needed. Another day of being a minimalist. This whole experience has really made me a lot cleaner and tidier because there's not a lot of things to get in the way because I've thrown a lot of it away. So my desk is a lot more tidy than it was before, and also my room in general is a lot more tidy and easier to tidy just because there's only a few things that kind of need to go away each night because I'm not actually using that many things. I missed filming some stuff yesterday because I was a bit too busy with like a lot of work and stuff, but this is kind of like the final day of this week-long recording minimalist thing. I have found it a lot more eye-opening than I thought it would be. Like with simplicity, it just comes, I find a lot more effectiveness in how I kind of go about my day. Throughout the last week, I've found my life a lot simpler. Due to me not having as many possessions as I did before, my room is a lot easier to keep clean. Getting ready in the morning, I don't have to worry about what I wear, because most days I wear the same thing. I think that minimalism has definitely improved my life for the better, allowing me not to have as many distractions and issues as I did before. My thoughts for people becoming a minimalist would be to take your time. Do not rush to get rid of your stuff straight away. Find out what makes you happy and keep it. Minimalism is definitely a tool I will keep adding into my life because I find it makes it a lot simpler and easier